Breaks, rather.
Closer to Old Stage? To Old Stage. Almost where the arrow is pointing, right?
No, it's, yeah.
Oh,
Where
okay.
the A is in Watt, it's across from there is where the driveway to the center will be, approximately in that area. So the landscape island will be like, just to the south of that a ways, so that there's adequate turning lane to go into the center and an adequate turning lane to turn left onto Old Stage Road.
Will it be about the same size as the one that's on McPhee Road? Or do we have any idea?
Well, it won't be a roundabout. Yeah.
It's not a roundabout. It's more of an island like Grigsby Chapel.
Mhm.
Okay.
Boulevard is
Okay.
the traditional term.
How do we proceed on this? Gary, do we have any?
Last slide is just a recommendation. I would just encourage the Planning Commission to discuss this and, look at it, maybe not so much, it's hard not to look at these in terms of money, of course, but as far as the development and the planning aspect of it, what does this body want to see? But just keep in mind that this is, has been an agreed upon process that these would be born out of the strategic plan. So that's where these come from. We can.
Okay, I just need to ask you a question. On the, to consider the 2011 through 2016, have we ever, because it says, if we do this about the community center, and then at the end it says, need to consider issuing bonds to maintain funding levels, have we ever done this in the past?
Bonds? The town's borrowed money before.
We have?
It's not uncommon.
It isn't?
No. I mean, and that's just the realization of, you have X amount of dollars to do X amount of projects. It's, if it doesn't. 10 years ago? For this building? Was that 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
91. Paid off in about 2002.
Other projects that you want to find out about?
I would like to know your all's, does anybody have the community center? Does anybody else view that as maybe that should be up here instead of something else, or?
Would that be a capital project this year?
No.
That's the question.
What do you mean? If this is the feasibility study?
Yeah, is it a capital project or is it just general funds?
I don't know. Where are they going to put? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
this was
I'll
here.
provide some commentary to you if you're looking for some
That's
feedback.
what I need.
Regardless of where the money falls, I think the demand for a community center is going to increase over time. However, I don't think the town is even remotely close from a time frame standpoint of being able to support such a center.
Right.
Regardless of what the demand is, based on what I know today. Now, as I think the mayor mentioned recently, that it would take a lot of private funding and donations and so forth to try to bring it together. But the town, based on what I know today, it would be very premature to take additional steps on the community center, and I'm for it. I really am for it.
I am
It's
too,
just
but
it's
that's
just
what I
very
don't
early.
understand.
So that's the answer I would give
But
to
we
you.
have to be practical.
Right. Well, I agree with that too.
Come down on that. That's one of those things to me is that's not a need item. It's a nice item.
Right.
And,
I agree with that too.
And we're not ready to do nice items. We can't even, we need road improvements before we need nice items.
It's a need. This building was a need. We definitely needed this building.
Madam Chairman, can I make a comment? With this plan, I think it's, I need to say that this, like any document that goes before the board or any issue that goes before the board can change. So if there's a project that does not meet our criteria to be funded, it can go back through the same process again. So this is not passed, and that's it. So if there is something that comes down that we can't anticipate right now, it's just a matter of going through the same process. You come to the planning commission, you vet it, you talk about it, you make a recommendation to the board considers it, has their public hearings, and then moves on it, one way or the other. So with this, this is what we're proposing based on what we've been provided through the process of planning and strategic visioning. And along with that, I would encourage this body to offer some alternates. If there are alternate projects that we can add on to this, that if something doesn't get funded, this would be a priority to look at, and we will know ahead of time that that's what you want to do.
Gary, with that, I'll offer this commentary. First of all, this really is likened to a concept plan at this point. I mean, this is not the end result. I mean, there's changes that could take place.
Possibly, however, this will be going before you guys, I believe, for approval at the next meeting.
Right.
Not next Thursday,
but this is what I meant. This is not the end of the discussion. I mean, there's more discussion needs to take place. In light of my upcoming role, the only comment I would add on this is I have a certain amount of hesitation on the lighting, only from a cost standpoint on Campbell Station. The concept I like. I need to learn. I've got a lot to learn, so I just offer that comment. Also, I will agree with a comment I heard Alderman Williams make a week ago today about perhaps looking at trying to get some more walkways connecting people over to Mayor Bob Leonard Park. I do think he brought up a good point with that and would concur with him. So if the words I believe you used, a suggestion of alternative projects perhaps, I would concur with what he said. I think that's something to keep in mind if the batting order would change, if you will. So.
All right, let me clarify what I was saying about the feasibility study for the community center, and that is that we're talking about right now the capital improvement budget. Those things that are on the capital improvement budget are the things that add value to the town. It's just like if you add a room onto your house, you've increased the value of the house. That's what this is all about. And that would be capital money that you're spending on your house. Feasibility study, regardless of whether it's meritorious or not, is something that would be funded out of general fund. We need to know more, so we're going to pay somebody to tell us some more. But what we're dealing with right now is the proposed capital improvement plan for this year, period.
All I was basing on was what was provided here. You know, I mean, I didn't know if that was an option as far as the feasibility, you know, would sort of take in the place of one of these items. That's what I guess I was looking at as far as the feasibility. You know, that's where I came up with that.
I have one other question, and I promise I'll shut up for this. Rod, that sounds like you, doesn't it? In January, February, we had the meeting with the community, and we brainstormed, and we had all of the stuff about what we were going to do with the town and all of the wishes. I haven't heard anything else about that, and this doesn't have anything to do with any of that. This is the meeting we had in January, February. That's for future. Yes. Mm-hmm. All the people.
That was part of the strategic planning process where Lyle Summick took all of that, along with the sessions that were with the board,
right,
and myself and David, took all of that back and is condensing it into his report.
So
now we have the data back. The data that was drawn from those meetings was taken to the subsequent board visioning sessions, and that's where things were prioritized based on the board's vision coupled with the town's vision, and this is what the result was.
All right.
You're going to have a draft of that sometime soon?
I'm hoping.
Okay, so we will get to see that. Thank you. And I'll shut up now.
But the potential tie from this tactical plan to the vision is the fact that there is a $500,000 being accumulated in things like land acquisition, so that if and when at the time there is something that comes together that makes sense, people want it and the board, mayor, and aldermen approve it, there are some funds that hopefully have accumulated to be a part of that overall scheme. So there are elements in this that, although you can't pin it down exactly what it's for, it does lay some foundation work for that.
Correct, and I think that there's that built-in ability to be dynamic on this with banking of some of these funds, and the fact that we're spreading this over 5 years. You could take any project that you could think of and approve it through your CIP. Fact of the matter is, if the funding's not there, it's not going to happen. Just because you have it in there doesn't mean we're bound to do it. Unlike the general fund, where we're programming money into costs that are already happening. So this is one of those. I mean, this is pie in the sky stuff too. I mean, you can put whatever you want on the CIP. What we're asking for is the funding for this next year for these projects.
A note for next year, and before we go through this next year, it might be good to have a little training on the breakdown of what these different items in the budget are. Like the capital improvement as opposed to the general fund, as opposed to whatever other parts there may be that we may or may not be a part of as a planning commission. And I think that might help some of us see that a little better. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Do we have anybody who's interested in, any additions or things they don't see in here that they want to maybe be considered to be added? Then do I have a motion?
I move we approve a recommendation of this plan as submitted to the board, mayor, and alderman.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Well, can I ask, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Opposed? We'll move on to item number 4, discussion of a request to rezone a portion of parcel 59.06, tax map 152, located on the north side of Turkey Creek Road across from Anchor Park. 3.55 acres from R1 residential, rural single-family residential district to R4 attached single-family residential district. Smith Farm Residential Partners applicant. This is obviously a residential project.
I just want to thank you for your time, and I hope everybody has a good Easter.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Gary.
You can't leave. I've got some filming to do out at the park.
I want to say, Gary's here tonight, and our town administrator
Balance
is
it.
not, because he
Wouldn't let
has
me
2
click
additions to
on.
his family, and we wish them all well. Has 2 additions, David has 2 additions to his family. We wish them well.
Well, suffice it to say, it's been a tough week for David, even though he does have 2 children now, boy and girl. They're premature, so they'll be in the hospital for a month or so. Sonia had, it was rough, let's put it that way. And in the middle of all this, his father died. So yeah, it's more than a normal man should have to take.
True indeed. Well, our thoughts and prayers are definitely with him. And all of his family. I think Ruth is getting some things in order here.
Obviously, Gary and I did not coordinate.